I've heard that things aren't so good. It's going back to the bad old ways. Now, another meeting we had with Naim Chomsky some months ago at UCD, and he seemed to indicate that the left in South America was going in a more satisfactory way, different from old-style communism and Marxism. Ecuador being a particularly good example of that. And, you know, avoiding excessive industrialisation and so on. Is that the policy of your party, your three parties?
The policy of what, doing what, sorry?
Similar to Ecuador?
No.
Do you have a Marxist policy?
Yes. And for example, what happened now in Venezuela is the food is extremely expensive in Venezuela, because in Venezuela the water is more expensive than petrol. And there is no national production of food. So even if you know, any food has to be produced outside. And now what's happening in Venezuela, there's a shortage of food, mainly because there was no investment in the country, and also because you have a very powerful lobby by the oil industry. But we are more kind of the three parties in the front. We are Trotskyists. So we are Marxists. Yes, but we're Marxists.
Not a bit different from Hugo Chavez.
Yes.
And the other thing, the trade union movement sounds very... Here, I don't suppose you know the trade union here, I'm afraid trade unions here are something of a disgrace. You're probably not aware of it. We could
okay, good. Yeah, well, in that case, we are the same. Trade union at the national level, that is disgraceful, but and the rank and file level is different.
Well, I was at the Belfast meeting just quite last day, and one of the things that came out of the Belfast meeting was that really what came first was the movement of the workers. It's not that the Trotskyist parties showed the way and the workers followed. It was that the workers began to mobilise, and that created a potential for the parties to lead struggles and gain victories and establish themselves in opposition to a traditional leadership. And I think that's important because that happens all the time. People rise up all the time. There's a massive workers' mobilisations in Greece, massive mobilisations in France and Spain. But what tends to happen is there tends to be a cork on them, which is set by the existing leaderships, both of political parties and trade unions. Yeah. And one of the stories from Argentina is the story of the Kraft factory.
Yeah.
And the Kraft factory is absolutely enormous. It's about 3,000 workers, and Kraft, as you know, is one of the biggest food companies in the world. And basic conditions were very, very, very bad because the union officials were so corrupt. What it is corruption goes on to a certain point and then starts to eat itself up. And what happened in Kraft is the union leaders got so corrupt they didn't even enter the factory. They just phoned the bosses and asked them to send over the Jews. So when a few working class militants went into the factory, the 2,500 workers burning with anger, and nobody to stop them, and shouting the odds. And within a very short time there was a mass strike in Kraft, which the workers won. And because they're associated with these other agribusiness products and so on, there was a wave of rank and file militancy, on which everything else is based on that, and the fact that there was a rank and file militancy and it was able to organise itself. And I'll say one more thing just so get my speak in and stop talking. One of the things that I thought came out of the Belfast meeting was that people become very confused about revolution and reform. And a lot of people think that those are alternative strategies. And they are not alternative strategies. Revolution is the opposite of reformism. It's not that revolutionary groups are against reforms. We're all for reforms. But we're deathly opposed to the idea that Parliament can gradually improve until one day you wake up and you're living under socialism. And essentially the big problem with the socialist movement today is that it has become thoroughly reformist and it's afraid to raise revolutionary ideas. I saw, you can see for yourself at the end of the meeting the adverts, right? The most striking one is the one by the women activists. So there's a range of women activists of different occupations, nurses, different workers, and they all have a demand. And the first one up stands in the street and says, our demand is free abortion on demand. So that's the first demand of the women's movement, and that's what the Revolutionary Party stand in this election, stand ahead. You can't get socialists in Ireland to call for free abortion on demand. They call for nonsense stuff about legislate for something or other. They might as well not exist. You know, the purpose of being a revolutionary is to put forward a revolutionary programme. And what's happening in Argentina, we're seeing people do that and succeed. You know, we can do it here. Take away.
Taking up exactly that point, well, that general point, I didn't get from what you were saying what is it, the FIT? What is it that the FIT is saying to the people, to the workers, that is the end product? I mean, a socialist government, yes, but I mean, is it saying we're going to reach a socialist government, as you yourself were saying, is not possible through democratising Parliament and, you know, incrementally moving in that direction? Or is it saying it's going to take a revolution and we're going to have to overthrow the state?
Yeah, of course, in order to change the system, you have to overthrow the state. The thing is, for you at the moment, we don't, you know, we can't do that because you don't have.
No, sure. I'm sorry.
No, yeah.
But what do you say to the workers? Do you say to them, one day we're going to have to overthrow the state, or do you just not say anything about that?
No, we say, you know, we fight for the workers' government.
Yes, but that's still open. That's still open to interpretation. I have heard Socialist Party say we're working for a socialist government and we want nationalisation under workers' control.
We say that.
Yeah, yes, but you're not understanding what I'm saying.
Sorry.
I have heard those things say
Yeah.
when what was meant was reformism.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't say we are going to have to fight on the streets and overthrow the state at some point, right?
Yes.
But did the FIT say that?
We say that, yes. We cannot say that in the electoral program because if you say the electoral program, you are banned by the justice.
Okay.
But we say that, yeah. We said we are not going to win more and more and more MP, and one day we're all going to be happy. And
okay.
no, we said, you know, and
okay.
also we said it's not going to be, you know, overnight. And but in order to do that, you need to gain the masses for that. You know, you need to convince people that there's a solution because, you know, I don't know, 1 million or even 2 million people, they're not, you know, you have 40 million people, they're not going to achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to really, convince people about that. And we say that this is our strategy, and you know, we're fighting for, you know, overthrow the state, and we're fighting for a socialist alternative, and there is not reform to capitalism. We say that. I don't know if I am answering your question.
Yeah.
I'd have to see what was ready to really say.
Can I just, is it Zanon?
Yes.
I say one of the key struggles that they're involved in is the Zanon factory, which is the expropriation of the factory. It's not a call for nationalisation, it's the workers actually are in charge of the factory at the moment. It's a sort of, it's not exactly a revolution, or what happened is they were able to call a lot of solidarity and pay a gas bill. And once they paid the gas bills, they could light up the furnaces, and once they lit up the furnaces, they could start production. And you know, by having production and having solidarity from the rest of the workers' movement, the factory is up and running. So that's an expression of the sort of movement that. Is that right, or have I said?
Yes, and also with the factory, you know, we don't fight for cooperatives. That's not our aim, the cooperatives, because that's a kind of a capitalist economy. And there was discussion about that because one sector of the factory wanted just to keep as a cooperative. And also we had to fight against the productivity-based sector in the factory. They said, okay, if we produce, we make money, and they didn't care about other problems. So we had to really fight there. We expropriated the factory not just to work or to self-exploit ourselves, but we have expropriated the factory in order to set up the example and to say this is the model to follow. And also we said, our model is not a cooperative. The cooperative is a step forward in the sense that allows you to develop. It's a step forward to develop the struggle, but your end is not the parliament either. Your end is not a cooperative, but you use that conquest, if you like, in order to develop the struggle forward. And the same with the parliament. So because some people say, oh, you're not interested in parliament, why do you present the election? But if you don't present the election, you can't have dialogue with people. So we use the election as a way to establish a dialogue with
They're all stepping
people.
stones.
Yes.
You take your seats, though.
Yes. Yeah.
Could we just, Kevin, you